In the Namib Desert, there is a place where time seems to have stopped. Empty houses, creaking doors, rooms half filled with sand. Once, pianos stood here. Music filled the halls. Elegant balls were held late into the night. Today, the wind moves through the corridors, and dunes slowly climb the staircases. This town is called Kolmanskop. It lies in Namibia, one of the driest countries on Earth. But the strangest thing about this story is not that the town disappeared. The strange thing is that it existed at all. Because once, in the middle of this desert, there stood a fully European town with a theater, a hospital, a casino, electric lights, and even an ice factory. All of it appeared here almost overnight, and the story of this place begins with a small stone found in the sand. At the beginning of the 20th century, southern Africa was under the control of the German Empire. A railway line was being built across the desert. Just another day at work. Sand, wind, steel rails. Then one of the workers notices something glinting in the sand. He picks up the stone and brings it to his supervisor, a German railway inspector named August Stauck. Stauck recognizes it immediately. A diamond. Within weeks, more stones are discovered. Then more. Soon it becomes clear that these sands hide an entire diamond field. A diamond rush begins. But history has a sense of irony. The man who found the first diamond received a reward of 10 British pounds. In today's money, that would be roughly $1,500 to $2,000. And with that, his role in the story was over. Because from that moment on, much larger forces took control. Diamonds attract investors almost instantly. A German mining company called Deutsche Diamantengesellschaft takes control of the area, and it makes an extraordinary decision. Instead of building a simple mining camp, the company builds an entire town. Not a rough settlement of workers, but a full European city in the middle of the desert. Construction begins immediately. Ships sail from Germany to Africa carrying everything the desert could never provide. Luxury doors from Europe, furniture, pianos, crystal chandeliers, window frames, even basic building materials had to be transported thousands of kilometers. Imagine the logistics in the early 1900s. First, cargo ships cross the Atlantic. Then the goods are unloaded in the port of Luderitz. From there, everything travels deep into the desert by railway. Within just a few years, a city rises where there was once nothing but sand. The town includes a hospital, a school, a theater, a casino, a ballroom, a power station, running water, and even an ice factory. But construction is not the greatest challenge. Survival is, because the Namib is one of the driest deserts on Earth. Water has to be transported by train. Every barrel is precious. Food also arrives from far away. Any disruption in supply could create a crisis, but diamonds solve many problems, and very soon, Kolmanskop becomes one of the richest places in southern Africa. Life in Kolmanskop was extraordinary. A few hundred Europeans, mostly Germans, lived here as if they were still in Europe. There were elegant balls. The theater staged performances. Restaurants served imported wine. Orchestras played during celebrations. Guests arrived in formal evening attire. For the early 20th century, it was remarkable. Especially when you remember that hundreds of kilometers of desert surrounded the town. The company built an entire social world for its European residents. There was a modern hospital, In fact, one of the first X-ray machines in Africa appeared here. There were schools for the children of European families. A sports club operated in town. People played tennis and even bowling. Some homes had grand pianos. Kolmanskop became a small piece of Germany placed in the middle of the African desert. But beneath this prosperity lay another reality. On the surface, Kolmanskop looked like a European paradise. But inside the town, two completely different worlds existed. A few hundred Europeans controlled the settlement, but thousands of workers were responsible for extracting the diamonds. Most of them were African laborers. They lived in barracks. They worked under harsh conditions, and they were constantly monitored by the company. Because Kolmanskop existed for only one reason: diamonds. Workers were not even allowed to touch them. When a diamond appeared in the sand, it had to be picked up by a supervisor. Any attempt by a worker to take a stone was considered theft. But when unimaginable wealth lies in the ground beneath your feet, rules rarely last long. Very quickly, the mines become a place of suspicion. Workers begin inventing increasingly creative ways to smuggle diamonds. They hide stones in clothing, in shoes, even in their mouths. But soon the methods become far more extreme. Some workers cut open their skin and hide diamonds beneath it. Others literally sew the stones into wounds. The company responds with brutal efficiency. To stop the thefts, administrators begin using new technology. Workers are subjected to X-ray scans to detect hidden diamonds. For Africa at the time, this is extraordinary. The hospital in Kolmanskop becomes one of the first places on the continent where X-ray machines are used, not only for medicine, but to search for diamonds inside human bodies. And even that is not enough. When a worker's contract ends, he cannot leave the town immediately. Instead, he is placed in a quarantine compound. There, he must remain for an entire week under supervision. Workers are given strong laxatives. The company waits until the body has expelled anything that might be hidden inside. It is a system of total control. Workers are inspected before work, after work, and even after their contracts are finished. But tension inside the mines continues to grow, and sometimes that tension turns violent. Working in the diamond fields is brutally hard. Laborers spend long hours beneath the scorching African sun. Temperatures can exceed 40 degrees Celsius. Water is scarce, food is limited, wages remain extremely low, and the work itself is relentless. Workers sift through sand and gravel for hours at a time, searching for tiny stones. The pressure sometimes explodes into conflict. There are fights. There are murders. Diamonds turn ordinary disputes into deadly ones. The exact number of workers who lost their lives here is unknown. But it is clear that the wealth of Kolmanskop came at a heavy human cost. From the outside, the town looked rich, but that wealth was paid for in hardship. Decades later, something changes. The diamonds begin to run out, and farther south, a far richer deposit is discovered. The mining company shifts its operations, and Kolmanskop begins to empty almost immediately. The workers leave first, then the engineers, then their families. Within a few short years, most of the population is gone. The theater closes, restaurants fall silent, music disappears from the town. A city that rose in just a few years now begins to fade just as quickly. The Namib is one of the oldest deserts on Earth, and it does not hurry. Once the people leave Kolmanskop, the wind resumes its ancient work. It carries sand, first into the streets, then into the houses, Then into the rooms. A city built in just a few years proved far too fast to last. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And tell me in the comments, what other ghost towns or lost cities do you know about? Maybe the next story will be about one of them.